And we're back. What's good, Kenny?
What's up, man? What's up? What's up? What's up? How was your last weekend or this week? I guess all together.
It was good, man. I can't complain.
All right.
Just hanging with the
So,
kids, playing some games and stuff like that. We kept it chill.
okay, awesome. So just to do a quick check, I know you're in California. I want to make sure. Whoa, all this feedback. I want to make sure. So you're good with the fires and everything. That should be all north of you and your family and everybody for the most part, right?
I mean, there were some small ones. There was a small fire by Miramar.
Hmm.
There was a fire near El Cajon, but they were small. They were quickly put out. But for the most part, we haven't even really been affected by the fires up there in LA. I mean, even more interesting is that we haven't really experienced any of the smoke from the fires up in LA. Maybe on the first day you could get a hint of it, but if you didn't know there were fires in LA,
Hmm.
you would have no experience with it. You would think that there's nothing going on up there because not even the smoke has affected San Diego, which is very interesting because there are some very, very large fires going on up there in LA right now.
Okay, cool. So I just want to get out of the way because they know I'm on the East Coast, you're on the West Coast, and just want to make sure that everybody kind of understands that even though you're close to the situation, you're not involved in the situation. So that's a good thing.
Yeah, no, we're okay. And it hasn't really been windy down here. The winds that they have up in Los Angeles, we're supposed to have some of those winds, but it's been relatively calm down here. And so as long as it stays that way, what we really need is rain. That's the craziest thing. You hear all these people talk, you got these sofa experts, who want to talk about
Sofa.
mismanagement and stuff like that. You got sofa
Oh,
experts
sofa,
out
you mean
there
like a couch?
who swear they know what's going on. And I'm like, hold on, what are y'all talking about? One, it doesn't rain in California. It rarely rains. Like most of California is either in a drought or in an extreme drought.
Yeah.
I can't remember the last time it rained up here. So that's part of the problem, right? And then the other thing that causes these fires is it will be drought for years. Then suddenly, for a couple months, we'll get a lot of rain and then go
Hmm.
right back into a drought. I remember my mom coming out here and she's like, "Oh, it's so green." And I'm like, "That's not good because it doesn't rain." So that just means all that stuff is going to end up dying. And then if you don't go out there and cut it down and deal with it, it's an opportunity for a fire.
Yeah.
What's more
Exactly.
interesting, though, there are videos being released right now that suggest that these fires were caused by, the
Arsonist. Arsonist.
electric department. Yeah.
Oh, I heard that they caught people trying to set fires and being
No,
like
no,
arsonists and
that's
stuff.
no. Those fires weren't. One, they arrested a guy with a blowtorch in his hand. He did not start a fire. I don't know why. CNN threw that on TV. He hadn't started anything. He was just walking around with a blowtorch. Now, was he about to start a fire? I don't know. But
Look,
he
that
was
shit sounds so
apprehended
crazy.
walking around with a blowtorch, and so people jump on top of him.
Mm.
It is what it is. His argument that he's using a blowtorch to smoke drugs because he
A
didn't have a lighter. Hey,
blowtorch to
whatever.
smoke drugs.
That
That's
was his line. Now, here's the thing. He was by a house. So he's walking in his neighborhood. Some guy ran up to him and they grabbed it. What are you talking about? Sticking up for arsonists? Look, strange. I live in California. I don't live in La La Land. I don't live in the world of everything is a conspiracy. One, I live in California. I've been in California for over 24 years. I've survived multiple fires. So don't tell me I don't know what I'm talking about. I lived in San Diego when it caught on fire. That wasn't arson. It's because it's dry. If you don't live in California, you don't know what you're talking about. It's like saying that if you lived in Florida and there's a hurricane, some Democrat started that shit. You stupid if you believe that. That's fucking dumb, right? You're
all right.
fucking dumb if you say that. Like real talk. Like the ignorance out there is so fucking annoying, man. You don't know what the fuck you're talking about. We live in a desert. That's what California is.
I can't even see
All
that.
right.
I gotta pull up the chat.
California, if you build a house in a fire zone, it gonna catch on fire. Ain't nobody surprised by that. Only people surprised by that are people who are rich as hell living up in the fucking mountains. You can't live in that topography. You live up in the mountains with dry ass dead trees, and you asking for it. You know what I'm saying? Like literally go around. If you don't come to California and walk around in our woods, you'll notice most of the shit is dead. You know why it's dead? Because it don't rain. So what the fuck are you
All
talking
right.
about?
So enough on the fires and the arsonists
That's
and
just
everything
stupid,
else.
man.
You want to get to the show?
I just it's annoying to listen to people who don't live in California talk like they know shit. They never been more uneducated in their life. There are constant fires in Southern California. Why? Because it doesn't rain. It fire every year. The only difference is that rich people's houses are being burnt down. That's it. You know what I'm saying? That's it. The only difference is it ain't poor people being affected by it, it's millionaires. All of a sudden, people care. Y'all didn't give a fuck when the fires burning down poor people's neighborhood. I ain't hear none of y'all talking about conspiracy. Suddenly now millionaires are losing their homes. You're like, oh, it's a conspiracy. Get the fuck out of here, man. Y'all don't know what y'all talking about.
All right. On with the show.
Yeah, let's get on the show, man.
You so harped on this fire thing. I was just
Well, no,
asking for
I
your
just,
safety and
you
making
know,
a
saying
well-being
strange
cause.
brings up something that stands up that's obvious. Like, if you have any ability to read, hook up a book. Go on the internet and Google. Like, understand the topography of Southern California. If you don't, you're not gonna know what you're fucking talking about. It's like saying that we cause earthquakes. What the fuck are you talking about?
Hey, don't be
Stupid.
jumping up and down in the street. You're gonna cause an earthquake.
Hurry, you're gonna cause an earthquake. But you know, say this is a perfect example. Going right into this situation right here. Drake attacks YouTubers, but only the black ones, which is crazy, right? So that's the craziest thing. So he drops his lawsuit against Spotify, his fishing expedition, trying to get evidence from Spotify. Turns around and retracts that, and then drops a federal lawsuit. And all this was to signal to the federal government to go after. Like he's trying to use the United States federal government to cover up for his L. But the worst part is he only attacked black YouTubers. You know, the majority of people who talked about this and reacted to these things were white people. There are more white YouTubers that reacted to this and created completely, created so much media behind this. Like you can go right now and put in Drake, and most of the people popping up are a whole bunch of white YouTubers who have no interest in the culture, but they're culture vultures. So they just eat off and exploit black people. That's what they do. Now he called RDC World. He called out Kai Cenat. He called out that one group of like Republican black family, the Cartier family, which I wasn't familiar with until
I wasn't
recently.
familiar with them either.
Yeah, and he called them out because they're like reaction people. But his main argument was because they didn't monetize the music and do copyright strikes, that UMG created a conspiracy to undermine him. And that's absurd to me because they also did the same things for his music. Like he said crazy shit about Kendrick Lamar. He said Kendrick Lamar he accused him of domestic violence against his girl. We ain't Drake ain't talking about that. Drake ain't talking about the shit that he said about Kendrick
Of course
Lamar.
not.
He
Of
said
course not.
some grimy shit about Kendrick Lamar. But suddenly, when Kendrick Lamar calls him a pedophile, all of a sudden now is defamation. Oh, now suddenly he's the victim. And this is crazy to me, man, because the fact that Drake only identified black creators just shows how disrespectful he is of the culture. He's not just suing because he took an L, but now he's attacking black YouTubers. And let's be clear, he's not suing black YouTubers. You know, Kai Cenat put something online saying, oh, Drake is suing me. He ain't suing you. He ain't thinking about you. He's used you as evidence of a conspiracy driven by UMG, and I guess that's his only person he's pointing at right now because he doesn't want to sue Kendrick Lamar directly. And literally, if you were serious about defamation, you would just go after Kendrick Lamar. And I'm not sure why he hasn't done that.
You
I
want
mean,
my
if you're saying defamation, you can't say defamation is driven. UMG only monetize a product that they would have monetized. You know, like you can't like your cable, right? I'm gonna sue the cable industry because someone put up a video of me claiming I did something. Well, they already monetized that art. So I can't sue, Comcast for defamation. And be like, how is that? That's not defamation. Sue the person who said it. All we do is monetize what this person works. He works for us. He puts up product. When we broadcast it, that is our contract with that person. And I think that might be their argument in this case is that this is our contract. We got a contract with Kendrick Lamar that we will do these things for his music. When he brings music forward, we will publicize it and put it out to the masses. That's our agreement with him. Now, if you have a disagreement with Kendrick Lamar, you need to go after Kendrick Lamar. I mean, what's your opinion on this? The fact that he's attacking YouTubers, black YouTubers in particular.
One, this is still funny because like this was a rap battle. I don't know how I got this far and this deep into
Yeah.
the weeds. But it's gonna be the first rap battle that somebody got upset and tried to sue somebody, not the person that said the things in poetry about them, but they're suing the company that promoted the music just along that the same company promotes their music. When I did read the snippets from the actual case, it was kind of interesting that everybody was saying that there was only the black YouTubers. And so then I went down the line. I'm like, oh yeah, they kind of are. And the Carter family, whoever they are, I had never heard of them before. But apparently, yes, every group was basically a melanated YouTuber who he named in the suit. When you can go back and think about everybody that talked about it, from Fantano, who is not black, but he does, hip hop breakdowns all the time. There's a couple other hip hop YouTubers that break music down, especially beats and stuff, that are white, but how come they weren't in it? And it's just because they did reaction videos, which I don't really recall RDC doing a reaction video to it, but I remember them doing skits about it. So that's the only thing that I found really, really funny. The other part is Drake is making this worse for
Bigger than
himself,
it is. Yeah, he's making it
because as
worse.
long as you keep doing some weird shit, it's gonna stay around and you're just gonna get more and more label of this motherfucker does weird shit. I mean, if any other rap battle, you take your loss, you go on about your day. Hopefully, you can recover, make music, still be in the industry, and still have your core fan base and still move on. But because he's doing all this extra stuff, he is losing anything of a foothold that he would even have of the hip hop culture. Because even now, most people are like, I don't know nothing about this, but this ain't sitting right. Even that little freestyle thing he had released like a week or so ago,
Or his man spirit rap. That's
whatever
what
it
it
was,
was.
but that whole thing is like, it's looking weird. And then if you go back and look at a lot of people that are talking about this situation as we are, and everybody's saying Drake is showing his other side and he's acting very much like a Karen, and that means
Mm-hmm.
you're not showing your melanated mind is not working properly, and you're letting your Caucasian mind take over and make you make these, well, I'm calling the police buddy type of decisions. And that's what a lot of people are beginning to say, because it's like, you could have just left this alone. You battled, you lost, move on. But you're doing all this
He's
extra
taking
stuff.
multiple L's. I mean, here's the thing. Drake did not have to respond. You know who the smartest person in this whole beef was? J.
Uh,
Cole. No, J.
Smart,
Cole
yes,
was J.
but
Cole saw the writing on the wall and was like, nah, fuck that. I am not getting into this. This is gonna get ugly. This is gonna get unnecessary complicated. I'm not jumping in. Cause think about it. If J. Cole jumped into this beef and he went after Drake, Drake would have been suing, Rockefeller right now. You see what I'm saying? Like he had been suing Rockefeller for putting up J. Cole's music and calling it defamation. Like his argument literally is anybody who helped acknowledge his L
mm-hmm.
is guilty of defamation.
Or guilty of supporting the defamation that UMG allowed.
Yeah, exactly. Well,
Yeah,
yeah,
so
that's what I mean. And
yeah,
so
so
that's crazy. I mean, here's the thing, right? If you say something, if you make a claim about somebody, that let's for instance saying that they are defending arsonists, that person has a right to respond the way they do.
I see what you did there.
I'm just saying. I mean, it's not an attack to you personally that I got upset about it, but I'm going to defend myself because that claim negatively affects me. Now, if we do beef music, I am not going to sue you.
Wait, what did he
You
say?
see what I'm saying? But that's what Drake did. Drake got into a spat. He lost. And instead of just taking that L and going, all right, maybe I'm wrong for saying what I said, he wants to sue now. And what he's really doing is jeopardizing the weaker people. He's only going after people that can't defend themselves against him. So he's attacking black YouTubers because they're not going to have the legal support. And the fact is, to be clear, he's not suing RDC World.
No,
But
he's
what
not.
he is doing is he is intimidating them, though. He's using intimidation to silence them.
Well,
So
he's
now
going to
they
have.
won't
Well,
respond to anything that happens in the future with the fear that they might get sued for reacting. Like, dude, now we're suing people for reacting to media.
Well, this is the
That's
problem that I don't think Drake
dangerous.
understands. He's making a very, very bad miscalculated step. You're an artist. You're a actor. You are not a person of an internet personality that has built a core fan base on making skits and making fun of situations and people. You were basically walking to another loss. If he doesn't understand that, I don't know why he doesn't understand that. Leave it alone. This is not your
I
sphere.
mean, RDC World made fun of LeBron, and LeBron met up with him and said that was the funniest thing he ever saw. So why is it that LeBron, a basketball player who has everything to lose by getting made fun of, embrace it, but Drake acting like a little bitch?
Because he's hurt,
Like,
man.
this is
He is
real talk.
hurt.
This is the bitchiest bitch move I've ever seen in my life. Like, punks do what he's doing.
He's hurt. He's hurt. But I will say one thing that I slightly disagree with. J. Cole, you said he was the smartest in the situation. I don't want to say he's the smartest because he did some weird stuff, not bad
It's
weird
weird.
stuff,
So what?
but you don't throw a shot
Bowing
and then
out
hide
is
your hand.
weird. You can't bow out of a beef and be cool.
No, you
It's
can't.
always going to look weird.
Yes,
No one bows out of a beef and it looks cool.
correct.
That's absurd to say that he's not smart. There was no way for him to avoid the beef without looking uncool.
Well,
That's what happens when you
yeah,
don't
no,
jump
that's
into a
true. But
beef.
the catch is that if he didn't, because J. Cole made the other song, if he never made that, then it's like, all right, cool. You bowed out, just be quiet, walk away. You won, or you saved yourself. Let Drake do what he does, let Kendrick do what he
You
does.
also got
But
to
don't come
remember
back and try to say, because now you can never say you wanted the whatever, because you when the fight was on,
that's
you
not
left.
true.
It's
That's
true.
not true. You can
It
still
is
say you're
true.
one of the best without, dude, that's crazy talk. You can still say, what?
No,
Based on what? Based on your opinion,
based
right?
on when it was time
Exactly.
to put it
Your
on the line, you didn't
opinion.
put it on the
No,
line.
that's your opinion, and that's
Yes, it's my
fine.
opinion. It is just as yours, but
Exactly. And no one's
that's
going
the
to
way
sue
it
you
goes.
for it.
That's the way it
No one's
goes.
going to sue you for it.
No,
That's
not
my
no,
whole
and I'm not
point.
talking no. That's what I'm saying. We're not talking about no legal thing. In the eyes of the battle rap hip hop arena, you walked away from the battle. So we can't say that you lost. We can just say you walked away. But you can never say that you're the greatest whatever alive anymore because you couldn't even
That's
prove
not
it.
true. You
It
ain't got
is
to jump
true.
into a beef with somebody. You know how many people talk shit about Nas? Nas only got in one beef. Not he got in a couple beefs, but 90% of the people who went after Nas ain't never respond to. You just ain't shit to them.
Nas response to Jay Z, and
He
that's why
responded
we
Jay-Z
that's
only.
why we
But there
hold
were
Nas and Jay
there
Z in
were
a
other
certain stature.
rappers. There were other rappers who tried to go after him, and he just ignored them like they didn't exist.
Yeah, because you can do that when you have already proven you're capable of it. J. Cole had no proof that he was capable of it. He just always talked about it. So when it
I
came
mean,
time, he didn't do anything, and I
all
get
we
when they say he
know
stayed face
is
and
in the
everything,
future,
but
J. Cole will have a beef with. Well, fine. I don't need to respond to your beef. Like, honestly, real talk. Like, me to say I'm the greatest rapper of all time doesn't equate to beef. That would be like saying that, okay, 50 Cent won his beef. He ain't the greatest rapper of all time. Ain't
50
nobody
Cent never
calling
claims
50
to be the
Cent the
greatest
greatest.
rapper of all time.
But he won his
The
beef, right?
only
So if
look,
you're basing it the greatest of all time based off of a beef, then you would have to say that 50 Cent is amongst the best of all time because he won a beef. That
No,
just isn't
no.
true.
You have to say you're the greatest. Like, all right, there is an asterisk to this whole statement though, and then we can move on. Lil Wayne is one of them weird little things because Lil Wayne, he says he's the greatest rapper of all time. He's never been in a beef. However, he raps with the best of them. So that little asterisk is like Lil Wayne. And Lil Wayne has been called out in beef, but he didn't respond to anybody. But he's never been in an actual rap battle beef with somebody for real, for real.
Yeah, I mean, I don't who called him out though. Like it depends. If Eminem calls
No, not
Lil Wayne
Eminem.
out, Lil Wayne gonna have to respond. Or it don't matter who Lil. If put it like this, if Eminem calls any rapper out and you don't respond to him, you can never call yourself the greatest of all time because Eminem considers himself the greatest of all time. He considers himself the GOAT, right? So if you don't
No,
respond to that,
not.
then you can't call yourself the greatest of all time because
But
the greatest of all time called you out and you were silent, right?
But then the
Now,
caveat is Eminem doesn't really call that many rappers out
he
overall.
doesn't. He doesn't. He doesn't.
Because also I think
And
Eminem
that
respects the
benefits.
art. Hold
Yeah,
on,
he
my boy.
respects art, and that benefits Lil Wayne. But if at any point Eminem or saying Jay-Z or Nas call out Lil Wayne, he done. Because let's be real, he can never beef with Nas. He can never beef with Jay-Z because he would get bodied. Because we all know Lil Wayne too high and too coked up to put together a piece of art that would actually be like you could actually follow. Like I've seen him in concert. This is why I laugh when they talk about Lil Wayne should be at the Super Bowl. It would be the most boring concert you've ever seen
Nah,
because this man is
I've seen Wayne
fucked up on
performances. It wouldn't be
syrup.
boring. I think he would put his best and all into it, especially if it's in
I
his hometown.
I've seen him try. I mean, did you watch the little Cash Money, celebration? To me, it was
No, I didn't see
boring.
that.
Lil Wayne was the weakest part of that. I was just like, damn, L, like what happened to you? And I realized it's all the drugs he did for years. They just fried my man's mind.
Okay. All right. Well, is there
It's
anything
unfortunate.
else on this?
Uh, well, we already hit on it. I mean, it's a federal lawsuit for defamation against UMG that Drake has filed,
Yeah.
which has encompassed all these individuals into it. And I think the biggest piece of his evidence is now that they didn't do copyright strikes. And so that's evidence of defamation. I don't know how that's going to work
No, that's not.
because here's the thing, though. Go ahead.
I'm like, if I say I'm thinking about this in a long way, especially because doing the YouTube stuff, it kind of as much as the copyright thing didn't mean not much to me until doing this stuff. Then that's the only reason it makes sense to me. But I'm like, no, if somebody says, "Hey, we're not going to copyright strike you because we want this out there and we want y'all response to it," and let alone it's a rap battle, which if history serves correct, rap battles they take place. So you put out a song it shouldn't have went through the record labels, but I understand now it's a real business for hip hop that you got to put it through the record label and all this shit. But if the record label is saying no, y'all both get carte blanche, do what y'all want to do. We're still gonna profit off it in the end, but do what y'all do. So we're not gonna black label anything or copyright strike anybody. Just go at it. And they went at it, and just so happened you lost. Why are you mad? Because the other part is best believe that when you was doing this to somebody else, if YouTube was like the way it was then when Drake battled Meek Mill, it probably would have been the same thing, and everybody would have been reacting online as YouTube is
Mm-hmm.
now to Drake dissing Meek Mill with back to back, and Drake probably wouldn't have said shit about it.
No, he wouldn't have. I mean, well, you also got to look at it too. There are a lot of corporations who don't do copyright strikes. One of
Mm,
them that really comes to my mind is Apple when it comes to their TV stuff. So Apple really doesn't do copyright strikes on Apple TV. So if you're doing like Silo, we never got a copyright strike from Apple. We played parts from the show.
we
I've
did,
noticed too. You know what I'm saying? A lot of people when they're doing their Silo reviews, Apple does not do copyright strikes when you're reviewing their TV shows. And that's a concerted decision from Apple.
yeah.
because we got copyright strike from showing an Apple
I
open
think it was illegal the
Apple
video you
show.
played though. That's what I
Yeah,
think
an
it was.
Apple unveiling an Apple products, and we got hit with an Apple strike. So it's a concerted decision not to strike people when it comes to those individual things. And I hope I actually added that to the conversation today, because we just finished Silo episode, the final episode. And if you haven't been watching this season, man, you missed the hell out. It was the best episode I've ever watched in TV, like historically. It had me screaming at my TV. I was like, what the fuck, are you serious? It was awesome. It was so
Maybe I'll get around to binge watching it,
good.
but
Oh, damn,
I,
man. That
I'll be trying to watch Silo,
episode,
and Silo be watching me.
man, talk about 4-degree chess. Engineering was playing 4-degree chess against your boy, Bernard. And when it went down that last episode, I was sitting there like, damn, I never saw that coming. The whole episode, everything is crazy.
Okay.
Everything's crazy. Going forward, we got to talk about my Ohio State Buckeyes in the national championship. They're going to beat the living shit out of Notre Dame. And the reason I bring this up here is because it's weird to me. YouTube creators are a problem, right? So when we're talking about sports,
Okay.
no, when we're talking about sports,
I'm listening. I'm listening.
there's mass statistics out there. You can look at statistics. You can look at the stats. You can look at what a team did all year long. Like, why are people shocked that Ohio State is in a national championship? They've been the most dominating team all season long. They are number 1 or number 2 in every stat. What are we talking about? The defense has been the same. The offense has been the same. They had one bad game. And suddenly, Ohio State is this inconsistent team. What are y'all talking about? I'm listening to like experts like Joe Klatt, or the number one college football show, or Josh Pate, or I listen to these SEC talking heads, and I'm like, y'all don't know what y'all talking about. Like, they say things like, Will Howard isn't consistent. Will Howard is the most consistent college football quarterback in all of college football. No one was more consistent than him. Nobody.
Okay.
There's not one quarterback. Yeah, they talk about Will Howard as if he isn't a consistent quarterback. The dude, when blitz, has a 70% completion rate. You can't blitz him. It's been that way all season long. He had one bad game. Ohio State lost 2 games by 4 points collectively. 4 points. They lost by 1 point in Oregon at their house. We were cheated. And then we had a fluke rivalry game against Michigan. Outside of that, Ohio State, nobody has scored outside of Oregon more than 20 points against Ohio State all season long. Nobody.
Okay.
Nobody. Texas scored 14. Tennessee scored 17. And Oregon scored 21. That's it. And so I'm listening to these talking heads and these creators on YouTube, and they're like making up these, like saying these, that have these narratives that just don't make sense. There's a reason why Vegas has them winning by 2 touchdowns. It's because we look at the stats, we look at the statistics. What I realize is that they don't know what they're talking about. They got millions of views. Yeah, they're supposed to be
So,
experts. We got these experts. Go ahead. You're going to say something. Go
so
ahead,
I'm
Sid.
not an expert. I'm just going to simply ask you this. Since you are basing your opinion or your decision or your knowledge of what's the outcome going to be on statistics, what would you be willing to wager? Something simple in the sense of for the sake of the show.
Oh, I don't bet on Ohio State games, but I'll put $2,000 on it. It's not hard.
No, I'm not
It's
talking
not
about
hard.
I'm not talking about nothing financial or anything like that. I'm just saying if Notre Dame wins, you'll wear a
Oh,
Notre Dame jersey or some shit like that. Something
Man,
light because
I'll wear
you're
something green.
staking,
If Notre Dame
hold
wins,
on, hold on.
if
You're
I got to
staking.
just give it to you. I got to. If Notre Dame wins, I'll find something green to put on. Because here's
That's
the reality: the chances of Notre Dame winning this game are very, very low.
okay.
Why?
Okay.
Because of the statistics.
Okay, and
One,
that was my question. I'm trying to make sure because you say everybody else with their opinion, their expert knowledge, their talking head knowledge, their very in-depth look at college football that they don't know what they're talking about, but you know more. So I just want to see if you were willing to
it's not
wager
that I know
something.
more. I just look at the stats. Like I
Okay.
pay attention to the stats. All right, for instance, Georgia was a really good team,
Mm-hmm.
but they can't score a bunch of points. So they got to play a low score game. If the game goes past 14 points, Georgia might lose. Now, Georgia had a good game against Alabama, but those are outlier games. For most of the season, the scores were super low against Georgia. Georgia played close games. That was all season long. So I knew when Georgia came to Notre Dame, if Notre Dame, which cannot score, can put up 20 points, they're probably going to win. And so when it was 23 or something like that, and that was it. That was the end of the game. I knew right then. Now, everybody else was shot by the Georgia game, not me. I knew
Okay.
exactly how that game had to go. Georgia had to keep Notre Dame out of the scoring zone. Problem was they didn't do that.
Okay.
Like a guy said, he's like,
What
if you can't score more than 17, they lose.
what is it that Notre Dame would have to do to overcome the Ohio State?
They got to score more than 17 points.
Okay, and
They can't do it. They
what
don't
is
have the
the
offense or the team to do it.
okay, and so what does Ohio State have to do to make sure that it's not even close? They just walk away with their
Do
next.
exactly what they did to Texas, Tennessee, and Oregon.
Okay.
Just score points. It ain't even hard for them. Look, people confuse that Texas game. Here's the reality of the Texas game. Ohio State's played the hardest set of games. They've had the hardest route to the national championship. But they're also the best team in college football. Like, there's not a team anywhere that's better than Ohio State. There wasn't all year long. There just wasn't anybody. Ohio State is Alabama of 2018. Nobody was beating Alabama. Even though Alabama lost a couple games, nobody was beating Alabama because Alabama can have a bad game and still be the best team in the country. You weren't going to beat Alabama. Ohio State showed up to play Alabama. Alabama boat raced us. You know why? Because Alabama was the best team in the nation. On that day when they show up, they're just going to play their best game. You know, that's just the reality of it, right? Those are the best teams. This year, Ohio State was the best team from game one all the way to game 17. They just were. Like the people who thought Tennessee was going to be a good game, bad matchup. The people who thought Oregon was going to be a game, bad matchup. The people who think that Notre Dame is going to be a good game is a bad matchup. What does Notre Dame do? They play man. You can't play man against Ohio State. Texas did everything they could to stop Ohio State from scoring, and they still couldn't. They did everything to take Jeremiah Smith out of the game, and they still lost by 2 touchdowns. The problem was if you play man against Ohio State, you lose. If you don't play man against Ohio State, you probably lose. Here's the problem. All Notre Dame does is play man against everybody. They play man. And look, these guys are really good, but they haven't played anybody who has 5 scoring receivers. Ohio State has multiple ways to score touchdowns. So if you don't play man, that means you're doubling or tripling somebody. You're leaving someone mad open. Other problem, Notre Dame, they blitz on 50% of their plays, the defensive plays. Well, that's a problem because anybody who blitzes over 50%, Ohio State boat raced. Because then you're leaving my boy who says 74%, the most consistent college football QB, open to throw the ball. Like nothing in this game says Notre Dame has a chance. So then they create all these narratives that don't make sense. They just don't make sense. Like none of these narratives make sense. Like if you were playing chess, this would not work. It doesn't. This is why I'm confused. Because you have these analysts. Perfect example, Kenny. Ohio State's about to play Oregon. They boat race Tennessee. You look at the statistics. Oregon never had a chance. Yet you're listening. They just saw Tennessee get boat race. You got experts on ESPN saying Ohio State is going to lose by 3 scores to Oregon. Dude, the score was 34-0 in the first quarter. Why? Because the statistics in Vegas literally said that's the way the game's going. They're being nice by saying 9 or 10 points against against Notre Dame. The score is probably going to be 34-0 first half. Why? Because two things you can't do. Either you change up what your team is completely, and Notre Dame literally said, we're going to be who we are. We'll see. But it's going to be a miracle to win that game because you got to change exactly who you are as a person. And I just don't see it happening.
Okay, so
this is not going to be a close game.
All right, so it's not going to be a close game. So let me ask you this: if you were a betting man, or if you was providing advice to somebody who was trying to come up and flip some money in a gambling stance, what would you bet?
Ohio's going to go do the over, play the over, and play the points because that's going to happen.
Okay.
It's not even a hard bet. Now, if you want to do something stupid like make a bet about how many points are going to be in the first half, 21 easy. 21 Ohio State points in the first half. Easy.
All right. There you heard it, folks. There you heard it. And that goes to Strange saying that you're giving away betting tips and you don't even know it yet. So,
no,
all right.
that's just common sense. I'm not giving away. This is what Vegas said. I'm going off the statistics. I'm going off what Ohio State's done. And the hardest team Ohio State played was Texas.
Oh.
Texas was the most equal team to Ohio State. They were the best team. They were the other best team in college football. Texas,
So
SEC Texas was the other best team.
This is because I'm still thinking about the betting thing for some reason. Do they do this on like Prize Picks or DraftKings? We are not endorsed or paid.
They do that. Yeah, they do that. They do.
So if you had to pick a player, who would be the standout? Because you said Ohio has high scoring receiving core, right?
I would say go with Carnell Tate. Jeremiah Smith should be your pick, easy. But if Notre Dame allows Jeremiah Smith to be manned, they're going to lose the game. They're going to have to double team that guy, triple team that guy. They're going to have to put in a spy. They're going to have to put a safety back there. So that opens up Carnell Tate, Travion Henderson, and Krishan Judkins, and Emeka Ibuka. All 4 of those guys, pick any one of them. Pick Krishan Judkins to get enough yards to get 1,000 yards. In this game, Krishan Judkins is going to get 1,000 yards. In this game, Travion Henderson is going to eclipse 1,000 yards. In this game, Carnell Tate is going to show out. In this game, Emeka Ibuka is going to get enough yards to have the most yards from a college receiver for Ohio State in this game. All that's going to happen in this game. Everybody's going to break records in this game. Ohio State's going to have 2,000-yard rushers for the first time since 2010, I believe. All that is going to happen. If you're making bets, put your money right there. You're going to get those bets are going to get you paid because this is what's going to happen. And then if you want to talk about on defense, they have no answers to Ohio State's defense. Texas didn't have an answer. Texas, if Ohio State wasn't Ohio State, Texas wouldn't run a national championship this year. Easy. They ran into Ohio State. Texas was Ohio State when they played Alabama. Ohio State did their best. It just was not going to stop the best team in the nation. And that's the reality of college football right now. That's where we're at.
Okay.
That's
and
just
what day when does this game take place? This Saturday?
Monday at 5, I believe, which is absurd.
Monday at 5.
Yeah, man. It's
5 your time?
My time,
So it's
5 o'clock
West
Coast time, which is crazy. This game should be today. It should be this
Today.
Saturday. The fact that they're playing it on a Monday, this is the problem. This is why they need to fix college football. They created the playoffs, and the playoffs is great. It's 12-team playoff, perfect. I don't have a problem with the playoffs at all. People making arguments saying there's something wrong with the playoffs. The only problem with the playoffs is maybe the seeding, but I really don't think you can mess with seeding. If you win the games you win, you should have the bye. I'm not even going to, if SMU or Boise State having a bye, I have no problem with that. Yeah, they got boat race. So what? They deserve, if you are 11-1, you deserve a bye. I don't care if your schedule was easy. We can't do that. You know what I'm saying? In the NFL, they don't go, oh, your seeding, we'll change your seeding because your schedule is easier than somebody else. Sometimes the NFC has nobody playing. They don't go around going, oh man, Patriots got a bye. No. They go, hey, the Patriots had an easy year this year, have an easy bye. That you can't change that. I think those teams should get the bye. The best team, the best fifth team should get into the playoffs, and that's it. You can't change it. Ohio State did not earn a bye this year. They didn't deserve a bye. They didn't.
Okay.
They lost a game. They didn't deserve the bye. You don't get a bye if you don't win. That's it. You know what I'm saying? People want Ohio State to have an easier route. Ohio State earned the route to the national championship. They had to play 8, 7, 6, 4, 3, and 1. They had to beat all those teams. Ohio State would be the first college football. If they win the national championship on Monday, they'll be the most legit college football national champion ever because they had to beat every single good team to get there. They had to beat everybody.
Okay.
And that's the way it should be. You shouldn't have to just win one game and be crowned a national champion. Like, that sounds like nonsense to me. And or winning 2 games isn't exactly a national championship make because good teams are left out. This year, all the teams that deserve to be in got their behinds beat or they won. If Ohio State had lost to Tennessee, Tennessee would have every single right to go down that line to a national championship. Same thing with, Alabama, if they were good enough, or Georgia or whoever. You know what this says? This makes for sure that there's almost no argument that the best teams are in. And Ohio State has literally beat number 8, number 7, number 6, number 3, and number 1 teams in the country. And now they're about to play the national champion or the whatever bowl champion Notre Dame won to go to win the national championship. So to me, this is exactly what I've always asked for. Because I really felt like in the years past, the SEC domination would have been more questionable because there are a lot of times that the best team in the nation was not playing in the national championship. And a lot of times that best team was Ohio State. Here's something else interesting, though. The change is coming to the SEC. We're going to see less SEC teams in national championships because they don't have the money to pay for NIL, name, image, likeness. When you live in some of the poorest states in the union, there's less money. Like, it's so bad for Alabama that the AD was begging people to donate to the NIL. That's where Alabama is at. That's not something that happens in the Big Ten. Because 2 things. One, Big Ten is the money division. No one has more money than the Big Ten because the Big Ten has billionaire donors and billion-dollar endowments and huge. No one loves football more than people in Ohio. Texas don't love football more than Ohioans do. Like my buddy said, when you're born in Ohio, you are born into a onesie that says beat the team up north. Ain't nobody love college football. And unlike other states, Ohio State is the state team. No matter where you live in Ohio, you're rooting for Ohio State. You live in Cleveland, you're rooting for Ohio State. Maybe not Toledo, because if you live in Toledo, you're usually a Michigan fan. They can have that part of shitty Ohio. That's just the reality of it. I mean, I ain't making it up either. If you know Toledo, you know that's true. You just know that to be true. There's no one who loves Michigan more than people who live in Toledo. I mean, Ohio and Michigan fought a one-day war over that little piece of Toledo. It is what it is. All right. But if you're in Cincinnati, you root for Ohio State. So Ohio State has people who donate from all over Ohio. And so they have both the economic ability, but they also have the motivation to. And that just isn't true in Georgia. That's not true in Alabama. And that's definitely not true in Tennessee. Tennessee is literally the 49th state for poverty. Like the fact that they were good this year is just a sign that they'll never be this good again. And it won't happen overnight, but it will happen over time. So 3, 4 years, Alabama gonna be good next year, but 4 years from now, Alabama will be the mids of the SEC. You know what's crazy? Southern Miss has more access to funds than Alabama does as a private school. So it's going to be really interesting to see what. So SMU will compete. You'll see SMU showing up more to these championships, paying quarterbacks like something was like Quinn Ewers was offered $8 million to go somewhere, and it definitely was not in the SEC. And he turned that down, which I think was crazy. I think he should have just honestly taken that $8 million because I don't know if Quinn Ewers will be that great in the NFL. And it's not because he's not a good quarterback. I just think he hasn't lived up to his expectations. But we'll see. Now, I don't know if you watched the first season of Severance.
No, I
But
haven't.
also yesterday, the second season of Severance dropped.
Oh wait,
And it
hold
was
on. No, I did watch the first season of Severance. Remember, I watched it.
okay. Well,
I thought you have
the
not seen
second,
this episode 1 of season 2 yet.
yeah. So season 2, episode 1 just dropped. It was a good episode. Since you didn't get to watch it, I'll not say anything. But if you watch the next episode, let me know so we can talk about it.
Okay.
Because I have a theory about something that's kind of obvious, but you'll see it and let me know if you have that same take on it.
Okay. I got to
So
do
we're
it.
not
Do
going to
they
spoil it here.
on episode 1 of season 2 did they do a recap?
Yes.
Okay, cool. Because I need a recap. Because the one thing about Apple shows that I'm beginning to kind of realize is like they
It's like 2, 3 years for the next season.
yeah, and I'm like, I almost forgot what happened. Unless I remember how it
Yeah.
made me feel. Like I remember enjoying Severance, other than the fact the mundaneness of it. But it was a very interesting show. Compared to Silo, I just didn't feel good. I felt like we were being pushed through this story. So that's why I can't get on the Silo thing. But I may like this weekend or something, if I get time, plop on the couch and just roll through Silo. But I will want to watch season 2 of Severance because the story, the concept, the ideas, how all of a sudden their fractured world was kind of blending in together and they were trying to put it back together. I always found that story interesting. It was just the kind of monologue dialogue that they had, though. That's the only thing, other than the exciting parts.
Yeah, it was pretty good. Now, we're going to jump forward here to skills that the younger generation is struggling with. So, is this next slide related to that?
Yeah, all of them are. All of them are.
All right, cool.
So this is more of a personal thing. So like I told you, and they don't know, but behind the scenes, I was having struggling put another topic up. But this is something that I had a recent conversation with somebody, and then I'm also going through this with basically you can almost my nephew. There are certain things I'm beginning to realize, even at and I'm not talking bad about him, but I'm using this as a prime example. Even with him having, scholarships and grants and going to college, taking a full workload, also working, doing other stuff. There's certain things that he has not experienced in the sense of my opinion only, individual being that mature person that understands that you are stepping into adulthood. Because there's certain things that I'm like, I didn't get that ability to mom this or dad that. It was some things I had to figure out. And I was talking to another friend of mine, and they were saying how their kid doesn't write cursive. They don't know how to write cursive. Cursive is like a foreign thing to them because think about it. Everything they use and do, especially with Gen Z on forward, is mostly just on tablets, computers, phones. And I was like,
Mm-hmm.
so how did they sign their signature? And basically was like, well, they just kind of make up something to sign. I'm like, but they got to at least know the basis of how to start your signature with the proper cursive letter.
Can I say something about that real quick? So
But
it's very interesting you talk about that. One of the biggest problems in this last election was the inconsistency of of Gen Z's signatures.
I will
So
believe
their
that.
signatures were not matching because they didn't have a certain way. You know, we learn
I
how to write cursive. We also learn how to write our own signature. And so
yes.
your signature is unique. And even though it might be different every single time, like a photographer could look at it and go, yeah, this right like a writing expert would look at it and go, yeah, this is his signature. He has
Mhm.
certain unique characters that he
Yes.
always makes in his signatures. And so maybe it's longer or shorter, but it is this person's signature. You can tell from their signature, right?
Yeah, that's what I
Their
was saying
signatures were
because my whole
inconsistent.
thing
So that's a
was
good point.
that even when you start off your signature, usually the first letter in your signature of your name, that's usually kind of like your standard little cursive
Yep.
thing you do. Then everything else is kind of like your squiggly line shit, basically.
Yeah.
But it was tripping me out. And then it's because right, I was having that conversation, then the situation going on with my nephew, and it was just all of a sudden it dawned on me like, one, I am getting old. So that kind of dawned on me. And it was like, well, how do they handle? Because it's like the concept of handling business of sometimes you have to go and talk to someone directly in person in face. You can't
Mm-hmm.
just assume just because you read something somewhere online that is 100% true, especially if
Mm-hmm.
it wasn't from the authenticated site it was supposed to come from. You can't just say, hey, is the bank open? And then you read a Yelp review where somebody says, oh, yeah, the bank stayed open until 8. No, go actually look and see what that bank website actually says. Or even better yet, call the bank and say, hey, what time do y'all close?
Yeah.
But those are things that I get when you're dependent on the internet a lot. But I remember a time when it didn't exist. I actually had to make a phone call. So it's all these
You
little
had to call
things
the
that
bank. Yeah.
came, yeah, all these things came to play that it just happened to like this has been on my mind this past week. And so when this article came across my timeline, and I was like, you know, it is kind of true that all of a sudden all these things are happening to where I can tell them, hey, go do this. And instead of actually going to do it, they're going to look for an app to make it happen, such as, hey, can you pick up me a carton of milk from the store? Oh, I'll, what is it? Instacart it or some shit. No, just go to the store and
Go
get the
get
damn
it.
carton of milk. Then on the flip side, it's the whole thing of, oh, I don't have any money. Well, do you realize that when you Instacart that, you're paying for the convenience of the service? And then it's added on top of that. Then they're going to charge you all these other fees and stuff like that. When if you hop in your car, yes, it's going to cost you a little good bit of gas and a little bit of time. But that carton of milk, when you go to the store, I mean, well, depending on where you get it from, I will say
It's
$5
going to be
compared to the
cheaper.
exorbitant $15 what it costs to have it Instacarted. And this is a
Yeah. It's so
conversation is,
dumb.
huh?
It's dumb. It's dumb to Instacart things if you can just go pick it up.
Yeah, I mean, unless circumstances are certain critical things, yes, it is dumb. But that was just one of the big things. And then this article came across and it was saying one of the funny ones, because I thought about this right now dealing with my Apple products. It says like Gen Z tends to give up when faced with technical issues, preferring to replace the devices rather than fix them. Me, I'm standing here trying to figure out how to fix this, make this work. It's old as hell. When I know, oh, my screen is cracked, I'm just gonna buy a new phone. $1,000 phone down the drain just because you
Yeah.
got a
It's
little crack on
stupid.
the screen. Oh, and you don't want to get any phone. It has to be an iPhone. So it's just little things like that that all of a sudden this all came together. And I was helping my nephew because he's purchasing a new vehicle because his other one was in an accident. But it was like a lot of the things that I'm like, I remember buying my first car and going through these steps and with no confusion, but being confident to walk in, know I had everything in order. Reading from a book that says, hey, this is how you do this, to actually applying that in person to someone compared to I got to go and do this, or I really got to talk to them, or can I just or can I just type this in like a voice chat thing or whatever? I'm like, no, you actually got to
Are
go
you serious? That's crazy, man.
and keep in
You
mind
know what it is?
what. Go ahead.
I completely agree with you because what you're saying is absolutely true. One of the problems with, I would say Gen Z, the Gen Alpha, is that they lack the confidence that you get from being an independent child. Like I told my girlfriend, I said, look, I was 7 years old, 6 and 7, walking to school by myself. That was our reality. My
Mm-hmm.
mother and father worked, so me and the neighbor kids would walk to school by ourselves. And then we would walk home by ourselves. We were independent. We were capable of doing that at 6 and 7 years old. Now, today, all these kids, their mom and dads are dropping them off. They barely know how to ride a bus. They don't know how to do public transportation.
Oh,
When me when me and my buddies wanted to go somewhere, look, me and my buddies, we missed like my dad's line was this: if you missed the bus at school, you gotta take the Coda bus home. And we had a pass for the Coda bus. So if we missed the bus because we were like doing sports or something, we had to go behind the school, take the Coda bus, jump on it, whatever exit, transfers you need to get home.
mm-hmm.
We were
Well,
19 years old on the
this
Coda bus.
but this is the funniest thing too. So since his vehicle was out of commission because it got totaled, basically, he's still going to school in Atlanta. He's in Atlanta right now. He still works and everything. So I was like, well, if you don't live that far from campus and you don't live that far from work, why don't you just use, the metro system or the bus system or whatever? And it's like, well, is it that kind of? I'm like, it's a straight line. You look at the little map, but I had to realize that between mom dropping them off where they need to go to him getting the luxury ability to being, on his father's side, the only oldest boy grandkid getting a car purchased for him, and because he's a good kid. Well, he's not even a kid. He's a good young man. Let me put it that way. But being responsible, taking care of everything, doing everything he's supposed to do. That skill set of being able to wander out away from or use something that is, I guess you could say, more rudimentary that majority of people actually use, believe it or not, you actually have a luxury. But that's the thing. He's like, well, then he's like, well, I'll probably just take Uber or Lyft. I'm like,
That's more expensive.
you are a student. You can get a bus pass. But here nor there. So it was just all these things all came together at once. And I didn't even really think about the whole thing you said about them not being able to write their signatures, so that could affect ballots and voting and all that
It
stuff, which
did. It
it probably
absolutely
affected
affected
everything.
it.
But that was because that was the one question I asked. I'm like, so they don't know how to write cursive. I'm like, so how do they sign stuff? They just kind of make up something. And I'm like, the fuck?
And
Because
that line that they just make something up is literally the reality of it.
and
Because I see it.
but you don't know how bad that fucked me up in my head. Because I was
Oh
like,
no,
no.
I do because it messed me up too. It messed me up when I saw that there's. So for instance, if I wanted to go hang out with my friends, I had to take public transportation. My mom had dropped me off at my buddy Tim's house or something. I either walked my behind over there or I jumped on the bus. If I wanted to go to the mall, I didn't go to my mom and say, "Hey, can you drop me off?" Matter of fact, I never asked my mom because she dropped me off at the mall or my dad. I would just go as an independent child, go to the bus. I had my pass and they paid for it, and I would just get on the bus and go to the mall. I didn't ask my parents. I just told them where I was going. Hey, I'm going to the mall. They're like, all right, cool. I walked to the bus stop, jumped on the bus, drove down the street, and it's usually a straight line because in Ohio, the busing system is all straight lines.
Hmm.
A bus goes this way all the way down, and there's a bus going this way all the way down, and there's all these buses, and they're just constantly going in straight lines. So it's not that difficult.
So yeah, but that was because of all this stuff happening kind of all at once, and this article popped up on my thing. I swear this should be listening to me because I was like, that doesn't make any sense. But then I'm like, I guess so, because everything they do is online. They can do school from online, and even they don't interact with their friends as much as in person. So I'm like, it makes sense. And then I'm like, I'm a person that, like, I adopt the internet thing. I do all this stuff and everything. So it makes sense. But I'm also like, but when you're doing big things like to me, his big thing is this is his first purchase of a car that he's actually purchasing, unfortunately with payments, but it is more of what he wants in his brand. Well, not brand new, only one owner before, but it's all those things that he has never really had to do that. One, because either the parent took care of it,
Mm-hmm.
but now I'm like, you're getting away from your mom, because I mess with him all the time. I'm like, don't call your mom and ask her to. You can look it up. You can ask. You can ask me, but you need to start getting away from saying, "Well, mom, mom, mom." I'm like, because when you get into that grown up world, one, you probably don't want to be looked at as the mama's boy, but you also want to have
Well,
something
no,
that
you
you feel
shouldn't
you
be that
accomplished for
dependent.
yourself.
I mean, I just think about it. I can tell you my entire career in the military, I never once reached out to my mom or dad for them to do something for me.
You'll be
I
surprised.
just got it done. I either went to my chief and said, "Hey, how do I do this?" or my commander, and they go, "Hey, this is how you do this." And I did it. Or I had my
Yeah.
lieutenant go, "This is how you do this, do it." And I just did it. Because there's all things you don't know, but you ask those around you who have done it, "How do I do this?" And they go, "All right, I'll give you the document one time, and then after that, you got to do it
Well,
yourself."
but I'm saying that's more of military mindset. But the one thing I would say this, and we can kind of close out, even in the military, there were people that I know who basically their parents paid their bills. And this is
Are
not
you
no
serious?
E1, no, and this is not no E1, E2. This is like an E5 whose parents paid all they knew that they were in the military. They check got sent to their bank account, their parents had access, the parents paid their bills, then they sent them their basically like allowance money for they can do whatever they needed to do.
Bro,
They didn't know how to
that's
set up their get
crazy.
car insurance. They didn't know how to well, I don't think cell phones. Yeah, cell phones had just came out. They really didn't know how to do that. They didn't have insurance in their own name.
Damn,
Crazy.
dude, that's crazy.
But
That is crazy.
so something to think about. I would
Strange said that
suggest
his cousin set up like that.
hmm?
That's crazy to me, man.
Oh,
Here's the
yeah.
thing though. So my biggest issue is that our kids are about to head off to college, and I've done what I can to make them independent. Like go do that, go do this, go go. If you want to go do that, you need to go walk over there and do it. If
Hmm.
you guys want the snacks or something, go get the snacks yourself. I remember my dad, man, when me and my brothers were young and we wanted snacks, my dad just handed his money and said, "You know where you know where the store is, walk over there and get the things you want." And we would walk over there at 9, 10 years old, 11 years old, and buy our own ghee dunk. Like those made us independent. And I
Yeah.
really am worried about the capabilities of our kids. And sometimes when you hear them talk, they're
And
overconfident
things.
in things that they never done.
Can we let's put a pin in this and let's do this on the next one,
All
because
right.
there's a something in there that I have an idea about too.
All right, cool. Moving
Want to
on to
close
our
out?
next thing here. Do.
No, that's all. I just had another
Oh, that
image.
was it. Yeah. Okay, cool.
Yeah, because that's the way the kids are growing up now.
So Strange said he wants to come on the show. So we'll send him an invite next time. We'll
Okay, we'll
bring
do
him
that.
on. We'll
What you
kick
wait?
you
What is he going to talk about? You going to talk about what you going to talk about?
he wants to talk about this independent thing. So we're gonna bring him on for that.
Okay.
So next time when we do it, we'll bring you on.
He can email us at Dianoia Stirring It Up at gmail.com.
All right. So email us or can you type that into the thing so he'll know
Yeah, I'll type it
exactly
in.
how it looks?
Give me one
And then
second.
that way we'll be able to contact you, Strange. Because that there's a level of overconfidence, and I think a lot of people are going to be in a very uncomfortable situation when they get out into the real world. That's how much. I'll say this about my son Tony. That guy is very thoughtful, but I don't know about his brother and sister. I don't think they're as thoughtful.
Like, I hope they do not watch this show.
I tell him all the time, like you're a little bit overconfident. Definitely with my daughter, she's super overconfident. She swears she knows everything, and I know she gets it from me, but You ain't never been independent. I see you. Everything you do is someone gets you there, and then you don't have a concept of time at all. Like she has zero understanding of time and distance. It just does. Or
Hold
up
on,
to
save
you.
it. We gonna save it.
Okay,
We gonna
okay,
save it.
okay.
We gonna save it. Because look, I have a bunch of stuff about that. But all right, thank y'all for tuning in. Shout out to Strange Change for coming through. Appreciate that. This is Kenny with Dianoia. Shout out to anybody that watched over on Facebook, anybody that watched over on Twitch, anybody that watched over on YouTube. YouTube is our home base, so please, if you could, give us a subscribe over there on YouTube. Hit a thumbs up for us, please. And we're trying to rebuild our community and get it back up. D, you got anything to say?
Thanks, Strain. You know, me and Kenny disagree. So I treat you like one of us, like an equal. So we can get mad at each other and still be cordial. Like me and Kenny go at it, and it's nothing but love. We completely disagree sometimes, so don't take it personal. That's just like this is our show. We will treat everybody as if they're our best friend, and we can call them out on their nonsense and vice versa. With that said, like, share, and subscribe. And for those who come on the show, we look forward to having Strain on there. Strange. Well, actually, maybe he'll be open to sharing his real name, but if not, he'll come up with a colloquialism that we can refer to him as. And with that said, we'll catch you guys
Hey, you got to make a
on
new
the
overlay.
next one. Oh, and we'll make a new overlay. Yep, we sure will.
All right.
With that said, peace.